The Zodiac Killer is one of the most mysterious and frightening criminals in American history. He is known not only for the murders he committed, but also for the strange and coded letters he sent to the police and newspapers. These messages made him one of the most famous unidentified killers of all time. The Zodiac Killer's story is not just about the crimes he committed, but also about the mystery that still surrounds his words and his identity. Even after more than 50 years, people are still trying to solve the secret codes he left behind. The Zodiac Killer's crimes began in Northern California in the late 1960s. The first confirmed attacks happened around Vallejo and Benicia, two cities near San Francisco. In most cases, he targeted young couples who were sitting in cars in quiet areas at night. The attacks were sudden and brutal. The killer often used a gun or a knife, and in some cases, one of the victims survived and was able to describe what happened. Despite the witnesses and the clues, the police were never able to identify the killer. He seemed to disappear after each attack, leaving behind fear and confusion. But what made the Zodiac Killer different from other murderers was what he did after the crimes. He did not try to hide or stay silent. Instead, he wanted attention. He started to send letters to local newspapers, including the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. In these letters, he claimed responsibility for the killings and gave details that only the real killer could know. This proved that the letters were genuine. However, the most shocking part of these letters was not the confessions, it was the strange codes, or ciphers, that he included. A cipher is a type of secret message. It uses symbols, letters, or numbers in a way that hides the true meaning from anyone who does not know how to read it. The Zodiac Killer's first set of ciphers was sent in July 1969, just after two of his early murders. He sent 3 letters to 3 different newspapers, and each letter contained 1/3 of a long cipher made up of 408 symbols. The killer said that if all 3 newspapers printed their part of the code, readers might be able to solve it and learn his identity. He even wrote, "If you do not print this cipher by the afternoon of Fry 1st of August 69, I will go on a kill rampage." The newspapers decided to publish the ciphers, and soon the whole country was talking about the Zodiac. This first cipher became known as the Z408 cipher because it had 408 characters. It took only a few days for the code to be solved, not by the police, but by a schoolteacher named Donald Hardin and his wife Betty from Salinas, California. They noticed patterns in the symbols and guessed that the killer might start his message with "I" or "kill." After a lot of careful thinking, they cracked the code. The message was chilling but not very informative. It said, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." The message continued in this same cruel and boastful tone. The killer said he collected slaves for the afterlife, and that killing people helped him feel alive. However, the message did not reveal his name, even though he had promised it would. At the end of the message, the last 18 letters did not make sense. Some people think this was either an error or another secret code that no one has solved yet. After this, the Zodiac Killer continued to send letters, drawings, and threats. He often included a crosshair-like symbol, which looked like a circle with a plus sign through it. This became his personal symbol or logo. He signed his letters using this symbol and the name Zodiac, which he seemed to have chosen himself. The name and the symbol made his identity even more mysterious and frightening. He acted like a villain out of a comic book, smart, cruel, and obsessed with getting attention. In November 1969, the Zodiac Killer sent another cipher, this one with 340 characters. It became known as the Z340 cipher. For many years, no one could solve it. The symbols were more complicated, and the arrangement seemed to make no sense. Experts from the FBI, amateur codebreakers, and computer scientists all tried to figure it out, but failed. People began to think that maybe the cipher was just random nonsense, meant only to confuse. The Zodiac continued sending other letters after that, but the Z340 remained unsolved for more than 50 years. Finally, in December 2020, a team of codebreakers from around the world, David Oranchak from the United States, Sam Blake from Australia, and Jarl van Eyck from Belgium, announced that they had cracked the Z340 cipher. They used modern computer programs and careful logic to find the solution. When they decoded it, the message read, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." This message referred to a television appearance where someone had called in claiming to be the Zodiac. The real killer wanted to correct that and once again mocked the police. Like the first cipher, this one also did not reveal his name, only his arrogant personality. Besides these two long ciphers, there were shorter codes that the Zodiac sent later. One of them, called the Z13 cipher, contained only 13 symbols. The killer wrote that this message would reveal his name. He even teased the police by saying, "My name is," followed by the symbols. However, no one has ever been able to decode it with certainty. Some people think it might not have any real meaning at all. Perhaps it was meant to frustrate investigators. Another unsolved code is the Z32 cipher, which came with a letter that talked about a bomb the killer claimed to have planted. The message said, "The map coupled with this code will tell you where the bomb is set." Despite much effort, the code was never solved, and no bomb was ever found. Over time, the Zodiac sent at least 18 letters and postcards, and possibly more. He often mocked the police, boasted about his crimes, and claimed to have killed more people than were officially linked to him. He sometimes sent parts of bloody clothing to prove he was the real killer. His writing style was a mix of humor, pride, and cruelty. He wanted to play games with the public. His letters made people afraid because they showed that he enjoyed the attention. The newspapers often printed his messages because people were desperate to read them and understand who he was. Police departments from several counties worked together to catch the Zodiac, but he was always one step ahead. Many suspects were investigated, but none were ever proven to be the killer. The most famous suspect was a man named Arthur Lee Allen, who was linked to the case by several clues. However, there was never enough evidence to charge him. Allen died in 1992, and DNA testing later did not confirm him as the killer. Other names have been suggested over the years, but none have been confirmed by solid proof. Even though decades have passed, the Zodiac case continues to fascinate people. True crime fans, amateur detectives, and professional code experts still study the ciphers. The unsolved codes, especially the Z13 and Z32, keep the mystery alive. The fact that some of his messages are still unreadable adds to his legend. Many people hope that one day, new technology or a lucky discovery will finally reveal what the Zodiac was trying to say and who he really was. The Zodiac's use of secret codes was very unusual for a criminal. Most killers try to avoid attention, but the Zodiac did the opposite. He wanted to be famous. He treated his murders like a game or competition against the police and the media. By sending coded messages, he made everyone involved, from detectives to newspaper readers, part of his game. His ciphers were a way to control people through curiosity and fear. The more they tried to solve his puzzles, the more powerful he became in the public eye. Psychologists have said that the Zodiac's behavior showed signs of narcissism and psychopathy. He seemed to enjoy the suffering he caused and felt smarter than everyone else. His use of puzzles and symbols may have come from a desire to show off his intelligence. However, many of his messages also included spelling mistakes and childish words, which suggests he may not have been as clever as he wanted people to think. Some experts believe that his ciphers were meant more to confuse than to communicate, that he never really intended for anyone to find out who he was. The Zodiac Killer's case had a huge effect on American culture. His story inspired books, movies, and TV shows. The 2007 movie Zodiac, directed by David Fincher, is one of the most famous versions of the story. It showed how police officers and journalists became obsessed with catching the killer, even as he kept sending letters. The film helped bring new attention to the case for a younger generation. In recent years, advances in DNA testing and computer analysis have given people hope that the Zodiac's identity could still be discovered. Some of his letters have been tested for DNA, but results have been unclear or contaminated. The mystery remains unsolved. Still, every time someone cracks a part of one of his codes, it feels like a small victory against the darkness he left behind. The Zodiac Killer's cryptic messages show how dangerous knowledge and curiosity can be when they are used for evil. His letters made him seem powerful because he could control the public conversation and make people afraid. The fact that some of his messages are still not fully decoded shows how complex the human mind can be, both in terms of intelligence and madness. He used words and symbols as weapons, just like he used his gun and knife. In the end, the Zodiac Killer's story is not just about murder. It is about the power of mystery and fear. His ciphers turned him into a legend, but they also made him one of the most studied criminals in history. Even though he may never have been caught, the world has not stopped searching for the truth. His remaining unsolved codes remind us that some secrets can last for generations. The Zodiac Killer was a murderer in California who attacked people in the late 1960s and sent strange coded letters to the newspapers. Some of his codes have been solved, like the Z408 and Z340, but others, like the Z13 and Z32, are still mysteries. His messages were full of threats, symbols, and boasts, but they never revealed who he really was. Decades later, his identity remains unknown, and his ciphers continue to puzzle and fascinate people all over the world.